Pull up a chair. This is Models and Agents, episode 66 on June 1st, 2026. Let's see what shipped. New week in AI, and if last week was anything to go by, buckle up. Let's get into it. OpenAI's model cracked an 80-year math problem by leaning on its native strengths in structured reasoning rather than brute force. OpenAI published a solution to a long-standing math problem that had resisted human efforts for decades. The work shows how current reasoning models can exploit structured search and verification patterns that differ from typical human approaches. NVIDIA released a large open-source collection of physical AI agent tools and skills. JetBrains shipped Melum 2, a 12 billion parameter mixture of experts coding model. DeepSeek V4 Flash showed strong high-context performance on DGX Spark hardware. Builders should watch how these releases affect agent reliability and local inference economics this week. An OpenAI model produced a solution to a famous math problem that had stumped human mathematicians for 80 years. Ars Technica's write-up focuses on clarifying the method beyond OpenAI's original presentation. Practitioners working on formal reasoning or theorem-proving pipelines now have a concrete example of where test-time compute delivers outsized gains. The solution highlights how the model leaned on structured search rather than brute force computation. Watch for follow-up papers that dissect the exact search strategy and whether it generalizes beyond this single problem. This development continues the ongoing conversation around reasoning models and the cost versus benefit of test-time compute. JetBrains released Melum 2, a 12 billion parameter model with 2.5 billion active parameters focused on coding. The reasoning variant reportedly matches Twen 3.59 billion on coding tasks, while trailing the smaller Twen 3.54 billion on general benchmarks. Models and a technical report are available on Hugging Face under Archive Identifier 2605.31268. Builders evaluating small coding agents should test whether the routing improves multi-file edit consistency compared with dense 9 billion baselines. A user reported running the original MXFP8/MXFP4 DeepSeek V4 Flash on a 2-node DGX Spark setup with VLLM. The run achieved roughly 1,680 to 2,150 tokens per second prefill and 37 to 49 tokens per second decode across 4,000 to 256,000 context at batch size 1. The model maintains stable performance at 256,000 context with low degradation and handled 3 to 4 concurrent requests without major issues. It outperformed several denser models on private high-context retrieval and reasoning tests while consuming roughly 280 watts at load. Inclusion AI open-sourced Ling 2.61T, a roughly 1 trillion parameter model with 63 billion active parameters and 1 million native context. 256,000 tokens are exposed via API. Local users are prioritizing 3 questions before adoption: whether quality per active parameter justifies the size, whether practical serving is feasible, and whether the long context remains stable. Developers tracking the open versus closed gap should monitor early independent long context evaluations. NVIDIA published a substantial set of open-source tools and skills aimed at physical AI agents. The release targets robotics and embodied scenarios, complementing earlier simulation work. Developers building hardware-adjacent agents can now pull the components directly rather than starting from scratch. Expect integration examples with existing frameworks in the coming weeks. This release adds concrete pieces to the maturing picture of agent tool use and interoperability standards. Microsoft will present updates to its agent framework at Build 2026 starting June 2nd. The session will cover new agent orchestration and interoperability features, alongside Microsoft Foundry announcements. Attendees and remote viewers should watch for concrete SDK changes and sample code that demonstrate multi-agent workflows. Cadence and NVIDIA announced ChipStack AI Super Agent, an autonomous electronic design automation agent. The system combines Cadence tools with NVIDIA infrastructure to automate chip design steps. Hardware teams working on complex systems on chips can evaluate early access to reduce manual iteration cycles. A former data scientist released Vibe ETL, a visual data manipulation platform built on Polars and React Flow. The project emphasizes zero-copy arrow transport, a native breadth-first search layout algorithm, and isolated Python subprocess execution with a 30-second timeout. The repository is MIT licensed and designed for community extensions via manifest-driven tool additions. Users needing fast local extract transform load pipelines without heavy dependencies should clone and test the launcher scripts. A community graph summarized May 2026 open model releases, including Ring, Command, StepFun, and LFM families. The post notes that May felt lighter after April's activity and flags Minimax M3 as an imminent arrival. Developers tracking open weight progress can use the graph as a quick reference for which families to benchmark next. Okay, let's pop the hood on agent permission scoping. Everyone talks about giving agents tools, as if access is a simple on or off switch. In practice, permission models must encode task intent, temporal scope, and blast radius limits simultaneously. The core mechanism starts with workload identity issued at deployment rather than static service account keys. The identity carries only the minimal credentials required for the declared task and is revoked on completion. This adds a small issuance latency of tens of milliseconds, but eliminates the long-lived credential surface that agents otherwise accumulate. When the agent attempts an action outside its declared scope, the system can either deny or escalate. Most teams still default to human in the loop for everything, which reintroduces friction and does not scale. The practical decision point is whether the task's blast radius justifies the extra round trip or whether scoped expiring credentials are sufficient. The gotcha that bites teams is assuming agents will self-limit exploration. Without explicit scoping, they will probe every available path, exactly as described in recent enterprise security reporting. Test Melum 2 on multi-file refactoring tasks to see whether its routing improves consistency over dense 9 billion coding models. Run the posted DeepSeek v4 Flash Docker Compose on compatible ARM nodes if you need stable 256,000 context at low power. Clone Vibe ETL and feed it a messy historical dataset to evaluate the Polars-backed visual pipeline against your current extract transform load stack. Watch Microsoft's build sessions on the agent framework for concrete multi-agent orchestration patterns you can prototype immediately. NVIDIA and enterprise partners are expected to publish integration examples for the new physical AI agent toolkit within the next 2 weeks. Minimax M3 is scheduled for release in roughly 10 days. Build 2026 begins June 2nd with multiple Microsoft Agent Framework announcements. Early access programs for the Cadence NVIDIA Autonomous Electronic Design Automation Agent are anticipated shortly after Computex. Tomorrow, keep an eye on early independent evaluations of the 1 trillion parameter open model and any follow-up papers on the 80-year math solution. That's models and agents for today. If you found this useful, share it with someone who's trying to keep up with all these changes. And subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's update. The AI world moves fast. We'll help you keep up. See you tomorrow. And before you go, this show is part of the NARA Network, a family of daily podcasts covering tech, science, markets, and more. If you enjoyed today's episode, give Models and Agents for Beginners a listen. Artificial intelligence explained simply for beginners and curious teens. You can explore the whole lineup at neuranetwork.com. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.